All right, Attorney Lauren Frieder, welcome in.
Welcome. It's really great to be here in person, Brandon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so glad. I love to have guests sometimes in person. You know, it's just so much better than the Zooms and the phones.
It definitely is. It's been way too long. I feel like I have not gone out of my house or the office in
There
months.
you go.
So this feels great. So I'm really excited to be here.
And we got the plexiglass in between us just in case.
I feel very, very safe. You guys are doing it the right way.
There we go. Frank Charles, Miranda Law in the house. You've heard Frank on the show. You've heard Stephanie on the show as well. FCMlaw.com. So when you look at right now, I think the thing that's very topical right now is this whole evictions deal. You know, what's the federal moratorium eviction mean versus the Florida moratorium eviction?
It's a hot topic for sure. As we know, the federal government through the CDC entered a halting evictions through December 31st, 2020, and comparing and that was enacted approximately on September 2nd. And comparing the federal moratorium eviction with Florida's moratorium eviction, I think is going to be really helpful to talk about today because in some sense, there's pros and cons to both. So which one might be a better route for you if you are a tenant unable to pay rent affected by COVID?
Yeah. And it's such a conundrum, too, because the landlords or investors, they're saying, hey, I bought this asset as a performing asset. I need to make money on it. So then they get behind and then hopefully the banks are working with the landlords as well.
Yes, I think the saddest part is really there isn't in either one of these moratoriums any relief for the landlords. There's a little bit maybe better relief if under the federal. That's simply because as the way that the ordinance is written, you have to declare as a tenant under penalty of perjury all these different declarations, and you will face, criminal penalties if you lie. So when you tell your landlord and you give them this penalty on a perjury declaration, the landlord's going to check into it, and so is the government. So it gives a little extra more protection in that sense for the landlords versus under the Florida standard, it's written a little bit more ambiguously. So less protection for the landlords again.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking with Attorney Lauren Frieder here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So you've got these evictions, the moratoriums in place, COVID-19. We've opened back up into phase. What is it? Phase 3 now?
Phase 3. I'm not sure if I think we should be there, but here we are. So
yeah. So phase 3's here. We got some of the football teams are opening up. It's like, okay, we can do a quarter coming up. I got a text or email from the Bucks. They're saying, yeah, you can have whatever it is. I think they're friends and family first, and then 25%. Where do you see this thing going, and what's legal?
Well, I mean, it's legal to have moved on to phase 3. That's what Governor DeSantis has ordered.
Okay.
I think what's important is I think there's a lot of confusion with people when the new order from Governor DeSantis, he talked about the suspension of COVID-19 related individual fines and penalties, which was consistent with his past executive orders, specifically Executive Order 2092, and that would allow for collections of fines and penalties pursuant to Florida Statute 252.5, which is a second-degree misdemeanor, and you could be punished up to 60 days in prison or fined up to $500. He rescinded that, so there's no more of these individual penalties pursuant to his executive orders. What's important for people to realize that the local mask mandates, so for example in Tampa or Hillsborough, that are in place for people to still continue to wear their masks indoors, these are considered still in effect because these locally passed mask ordinances can only be repealed by the governments that pass them or with the expiration of the local or state emergency. Yeah. Do I expect some legal challenges throughout all this? Absolutely. I mean, we're in unprecedented times. It gets really confusing when you're looking at the state levels or the federal rules and local ordinances. I mean, obviously, we know you always start at the top and who has the most power. So I think people are getting very confused with this. I do have some advice for business owners because remember, this only pertains to individuals. So if you're like our law firm and we require masks, when you walk in, if a patron comes in, a client, and they don't put on a mask, you can ask them to leave, even if they have a condition, because this is your business and you need to protect people. If they don't leave, then you would call and ask for that person to be trespassed.
Just simply trespass them. Hey,
no
you're
shirt,
on
no
my
shoes,
property.
no service.
Yeah.
Same thing with a mask.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest way to look at it. Even if people don't like wearing the mask, it's annoying to me to have to wear it all day, 5 days a week, but it's important. We just don't know enough about what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's a challenging time, and when you look at it's the old conundrum also of local control versus state control
Yes.
versus to the next level federal control.
Exactly. And so I think that's where I really wanted to hone in on just really what that phase 3 means regarding the masks and suspension of fines. If you look back to a lot of the executive orders that were entered by Governor DeSantis throughout this pandemic, he always talks about, that you can be fined with up to the 2nd-degree misdemeanor.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important that people know that's gone away. Don't need to worry about that, but you need to listen to your local governments.
Yeah, so other provisions, you got some great show notes here. People over 65, those underlying health problems should continue to practice social distancing. Businesses that have been teleworking because of the pandemic can resume unrestricted staffing. So it's changing up.
It
Theme
is changing. I
parks-
think it's important in Florida. We're a right-to-work state. It's in our Constitution. So I love what Governor DeSantis is trying to do. He wants people back working in business, making money, because like we've talked about with the evictions, it's a trickle-down effect. So people need to be working. So now there's no restrictions for if a business wants to open.
Yeah.
And that, no business can be shut down. And, before we couldn't have tattoo parlors open, for example. Those
Yep.
are allowed.
Gyms, fitness centers now can open.
Yeah.
And I guess
At full capacity.
I've heard, they're in there working out. They're trying to be healthy. They want to be, working out, and and then it's interesting too when you see the actual statistics come out. The death rate is super low on this thing.
It is really low. And I'm happy to see the numbers in Florida trending down. It will be interesting to see. I was watching the hockey game, and I'm so excited about the Stanley Cup, but
Yeah.
I was really scared when I saw the crowds of people at Thunder Alley. I just hope people stay smart so
Yeah.
we don't have a repeat of the summer.
Exactly.
In the winter.
Yeah, because that's what happened in Dade County. I got friends down in Fort Lauderdale. I've been trying to get down there to see my buddy Corey go fishing, and he's got a beautiful boat. We go off right there onto the Atlantic and catch some fish. Reopen, re-shut down.
Yeah.
Reopen, re-shut down.
Yeah, I know Governor DeSantis says that we are not going to shut down again, which is great, but we still need to stay smart. If you can work from home, this is all common sense kind of stuff. We're all in this
Exactly.
together, so.
That's right. Yep, and if you're that worried about it, stay home.
Exactly.
Order your grocery. It's a great world we live in, right?
It is a
You
great
can
world.
order
This
from
is my first time
Instacart.
being out in months.
Right, you literally order from Grubhub, Instacart, you get your food to your house.
Yeah.
It's just a great world we live in, and I think that too many times we kind of zero in on negative things and the negative effects of things, and we really got to focus on this is a great country. We've done some great things to build ourselves to this position.
This is a great country, and we've done an amazing response given everything that's happened with COVID. And I just think you're so spot on about staying positive because
Yeah.
there are so many beautiful things and good things that can come out of all these different hard times. And
Absolutely.
nothing good happens without going through adversity.
That's right.
So that's how change occurs.
Yep, and speaking of good stuff and change, we've got a positive story of the day coming up. We got teen grocery store worker helps pay elderly customers bill after she comes up short. So there's a positive story coming up soon. But yeah, when you look at things happening out in the community, and we got of course the voting, the mail-in voting. There's so many things we could talk about. Bloomberg, there's he potentially paid for votes. I mean, there's all this stuff in the news. But as a consumer advocate, we want to help people understand the buying decisions and making them, when it comes to things that can actually affect them.
Absolutely. We're here to protect the consumers.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
So when it gets into landlord-tenant law, what do you think is one of the common things that you hear at your law firm? You guys do a lot of real estate closings, real estate transaction. It's kind of a core function of the law firm. When it comes to landlord-tenant law, what are some of the common complaints that you see, and then common things that people, you shouldn't have did that, you got yourself in trouble?
So right now, evictions are going forward. Governor DeSantis has changed the eviction moratorium, so it allows us to to go ahead and finally pursue evictions that maybe were on pause before COVID happened or were not being able to be filed because of these stays in place. So I think it's really important, that people realize now the standard has changed. So, your landlord can serve you a 3-day notice, can file an eviction, and the burden of proof now is going under Florida law.
Different than, say, New Jersey or New York
Yeah,
law,
and then we'll
right?
talk a little bit about the federal moratorium too. But you're under a Florida law, if you get served with an eviction, so that's a lawsuit, you've got 5 days to respond or put some money in the court registry or file a motion to determine rents. So in those 5 days now, what Governor DeSantis has allowed is that he will stay your eviction as it relates to non-payment of rent only for residential tenants, again, nothing commercial, as a as it goes to a COVID-19 emergency. So you have this extra burden of proof as a tenant if you don't pay your rent to show the courts that you've been adversely affected by the COVID emergency. And Governor DeSantis defines us as the loss of employment, diminished wages, or business income. And then the tell-all ambiguous part would be, or other monetary loss realized during the Florida state of emergency, directly impacting the ability of a residential tenant to make rent payments. So all this stuff is going to be told. And the cool part, too, versus the federal CDC that we're talking about with the eviction moratorium versus Governor DeSantis's eviction moratorium, is it also stays foreclosures at the state level. This does not happen at the federal level under the CDC federal order. So under the state level, state order, the process for the final action of a mortgage foreclosure proceeding is going to be stayed or tolled or suspended if the person can show that the non-payment of mortgage by a single family mortgager is adversely affected by COVID-19. And remember, you still got to pay everything in the end.
And that's open to interpretation. You know, hey, I had a loss. Was it a significant loss? What was it?
Exactly.
I had other expenses even too, right, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, that's what that or, I read things and what I call an estudium generis is what we go into Latin phrases when we think about contract interpretation. But at least in the federal, the CDC, they really give you they tell you unambiguously, in my opinion, what you must meet, and you must meet all criteria to not have to worry about being evicted or pay your rent. And that goes through December 31st, 2020. It might be extended. Okay. So that's nice because the state orders keep pretty much getting renewed each month. So people are waiting until like the last day of the month to find out has Governor DeSantis extended this order, modified it.
Right.
And a lot of renters and landlords want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. It's where you live. It's your housing. It's the number one expense for most people is the housing.
Exactly.
If you look at debt ratio, when you think about mortgages and finance, it's housing expenses probably the biggest for most people. All right, stay with us. More from attorney Lauren Frieder coming up here. Frank Charles Miranda Law, FCMLaw.com. And we also have our feel-good story of the day, so stay with us. We'll be right back after a quick break from our sponsor.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is Diane Vance with Fairway Independent Mortgage, a member of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Please give me a call for any of your mortgage needs. We do all sorts of loans. If you would like information on a mortgage, you can text me or call me at 727-647-8199. I will take care of all your mortgage needs. Go to my website at dianevance.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the real estate quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. We are in a low inventory market, so any of our listeners are homeowners and would like a free comparable market analysis or a 2.5% listing, we will honor this for the first 3 listeners who call or text in 813-773-1253. Free CMA and a 2.5% real estate listing at 813-773-1253.
Check out consumerqb.com. Selling commercial or residential property? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. Reach me at 813-670-7372 or platinummvpteam.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty, helping you win in your real estate deals. Certified negotiation expert, and we help you win in your negotiations, buying, selling, or investing. Of course, we would love to talk to you. My wife, Lindsay, also does Feng Shui. She's Feng Shui certified and pranic healing as well. And a couple of hot listings here, 8001 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. This is a great opportunity. It's a corner lot, traffic light, with 50,000 vehicles driving by daily, 2 buildings on site, and you've got over 4,181 square feet total and 33 parking spaces. Great opportunity. There's a restaurant operating currently, Riverview Sandwich Shop, and also a church in the back as well. 8001 U.S. Highway 301 South in Riverview. Great buying opportunity in Tampa Bay. Now, we have a vacant lot in South Tampa as well. 5510 South Elkins, 5510 South Elkins is a vacant lot. This is a buildable lot in South Tampa. Build your own dream home right here in Tampa Bay. 12 minutes to downtown, 4 minutes to the Tampa Yacht Club. Won't last long. 5510 South Elkins Avenue in beautiful South Tampa. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. And a quick shout out to Brothers Easy Moving, the official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Brothers Easy Moving. Whether you're planning a local or long distance move, reach out to Brothers Easy Moving. Make sure you let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Every day we're going to tell you something positive here in our Feel Good story.
Tell me something good.
All right, you got a teenage bagger at a grocery store noticed an elderly customer fumbling around in her purse. Have you ever been there? I've been there before. You know, people fumbling around.
I'm there constantly.
Or remember when they used to have checkbooks? You know, people pull out the checkbook. Yeah. They pull out the checkbook. You're like, oh man, come on, man, let's swipe the card. So, anyways, you had she noticed $20. They were coming up $20 short on a grocery bill in the amount of $150. So he stepped in and paid the rest of her balance. Isaiah Edwards, a nice young man, a gentleman. It's apparently a senior at Maryville High School. Works part-time at the supermarket in Crown Point, Indiana, and his act of kindness was photographed by another customer who's in line and posted on social media, and it went viral. I took this picture in line a half an hour ago. Suzanne D. posted on Facebook, and here's the quote. She said, I had been thinking crabby thoughts about humanity just before I spotted this young man who was bagging groceries, pull out his wallet, pay the remainder of a customer's bill when she said she didn't have enough. See? There are still heroes.
I love that.
Cool.
He is a gentleman, a young gentleman. I love it.
That's cool, man.
Yes.
I love that. He was brought up right.
Yes, exactly.
Brought up right. His parents done good.
They did do good. That's for sure.
All right, we got attorney Lauren Frieder here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Frank Charles Miranda Law can help you with local title closings, real estate law, landlord-tenant law, lots of stuff in between. By the way, what else in between? You guys are doing lots of stuff. Litigation.
We do a lot of stuff. We don't just do the real estate. We do a ton of litigation. That's my specialty. I miss being in person in court, but court has still gone on via Zoom and telephone every day. We do a lot of complex business disputes, commercial business issues, a lot of personal injury, catastrophic personal injury. Actually, a very sad new case, but we've taken on, having forensics out there, engineers. It gets very, very interesting. Human factors experts. So not just the real estate, but I always like to say we'd probably do about 1/3 of real estate and real estate litigation issues. We have the title stuff. Then maybe 1/3 about business, commercial, and consumer, and then 1/3 personal injury. But Frank and I have actually discussed, because we do have a lot of clients that apparently, unfortunately from COVID, may not be too happy with their current living situation.
Yep.
So we have done divorces before for some of higher end clients and people that are on the higher end. So we are going to move into divorce law as well, because there is a demand for that.
Yeah, it's a challenging situation. I think, first of all, it's got to be kind of a rush to be a litigator.
It is a rush.
You're going in, you're preparing kind of like the football team, the coach, the whole, you got to make sure everything's there. You got to plan what they're going to try to do. It's pretty cool, right?
It is really cool. It's an adrenaline rush for me. You've got to try to outthink the other side, think of every single what if strategy, prepare for everything, because it's always going to be the one thing you could not possibly have thought of. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to be what does come in. And so at least in all other ways, you've tried to control the situation, because as attorneys, we are kind of control freaks. It's a complete rush. And then when it's all said and done, when you're done with trial or court, and you're like, it's like, well, that's over with, and you're happy that you won, but you have to remember you have to pick back up and go on to the next person and topic. So right now, this week, I might be becoming, in a sense, all I've been reading out about is biomechanical engineering. So I got to get that out of my brain for next week. So I'm an expert in that this week. Yeah. And then the next week, whatever, the case might be about, that's what I'm going to learn and breathe in and out. So I always saw people ask me about that knowledge before it goes away because I got to focus on something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's always interesting in litigation. It doesn't get old.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So right now you're not able to do that, or are you doing it via Zoom or Skype?
We are doing it via Zoom. I thoroughly miss going to the courthouse so much. I know each court system has different phase plans in place. So I'm on the civil side. So the criminal side is very backed up. So a lot of the civil circuit judges are going to be having to help with the criminal dockets being so backed up, which makes sense because there's a lot of due process concerns. So I really don't know when I'm going to be able to get into my civil trials, jury trials in person. We've done bench trials via Zoom, a few of them. And I thought they worked great, but that's just because you have a judge. You don't have a jury on that.
Yeah.
I miss court, though, so much. I miss the people.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I always thought, if back in the day, I would kind of second guess myself, when I was first getting into mortgage and finance. I was like, man, because I took I studied for the LSAT back when I first graduated, but I always thought, man, law would be fun.
It's fun.
It'd be good.
It's like it really... It goes to any topic, and that's what I love about it. I mean, it's just very interesting, and it's not going to hurt you to know the law in whatever you do.
Exactly.
So
you're always going to be needed.
That's for sure.
I
definitely felt essential during all this, too. So
say again? You thought what?
I felt essential during all the everything that's going on. I mean, it's really important for attorneys to stay up to date because the rules and the laws change day to day.
Just look at wherever the economy goes, up, down, left, right, BP oil spill in the Gulf, hurricane. There's always something going on.
There's always something.
Yeah.
And I love helping people. That's why I became an attorney. I want to right wrongs. So
good.
I'm happy to do that.
Justice for all.
Right.
That's what this great country
was founded on. It needs to be that way.
That's
so
right.
Hopefully it continues to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, always a pleasure, Lauren. Thanks so much. Frank Charles Miranda Law. Check him out online, fcmlaw.com, and reach out for any of your legal needs.
Thank you.
As we always say, we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. Donate some blood. Donate some time. Lots of ways you can give and be a force for good in the community. And make sure you follow us online. We would love to connect with you at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram and Twitter. Consumer Quarterback Show page on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumer